Hello, welcome to this home exercise video tutorial looking at promoting relaxation here especially. You'll hear of activities like adaptive Tai Chi or Tai Chi. As much as I've looked into some of these things, I'm absolutely not a master in any of these areas, so I'm not even going to attempt to look at any of these type of moves. But what I am going to do is take the premise of those type of exercises, really moving slow, controlled, mindfully, body awareness from head to toe and focusing on your inward and outward breath is really a great way of promoting relaxation, accepting the noises around you, letting them pass through you, or if you want to put on some relaxing music whilst doing these exercises, you can, but it really just allows for a little bit of you time really. I'm just going to focus on a few very simple moves that I like to do when I get a chance, and I'll tell you some of the benefits as we go. So first of all, this is only if you've been cleared to exercise on the floor, of course. So both of these moves I'm going to show you on the floor, depending on the reason for lower back pain, because there is many reasons, as it's a junction way there in the body, the lower back, but this can potentially be a good exercise the next two to ease lower back stiffness and lower back pain. So first of all, we're lying on the floor, we've got our feet into the floor and our knees are up. You could also do this from a flat-legged position, but just note that that will exaggerate possibly the lower arch in the back there. But it's not to say that's an unhealthy position. Just pick the position that feels more comfortable for you. This may bring the lower back into the floor a little bit more naturally. And then from here, it's very much taking a breath in. And as you breathe out, you're actually moving your leg in. The hands is just a light guide. And then from there, you can continue to focus on that deep breathing. Hold it there for a few seconds. Moving slowly, being very mindful of your fingers, your toes, your legs. Not forcing the movement at all. You can hold the knee in for a longer period of time. There is no max of time. You can, if it's a little bit more advanced, if you can do this, then you can bring both knees in. The key point here to really notice, I've got to be careful when showing you this, is when I'm bringing my knees in, if you look, my bottom is curved up, and that's part of the stretch here, stretching the bottom, but look how my lower back and the small of my back remains into the floor. That is vital. I'd also recommend using an exercise mat here, so it's my own fault if I bruise my coccyx, because I haven't got one in the house. So I advise using an exercise mat. But talking about the technique, where I don't want to be is in this position here. If the small of my back, my lower back comes off the floor, then we're asking to aggravate the lower back. Here's another move that I think is fantastic for easing pressure in the lower back and promoting relaxation. So this concave curve in the lower spine here is natural. We wouldn't be able to move if the spine wasn't designed quite in this way. So there's a little gap here. You can probably find that naturally you can slide your hand in and out of it. So what we're going to do is breathing nice and deeply. So we'll take a breath in, and then on the out breath, I'll try and get my arm out the way. You don't want to go to the full extreme of the motion, but what we're actually doing is very lightly, so hopefully you can see, we're very lightly clamping down at the ribs, so our abdominal muscles come under a little bit of tension, pressing the small of the back just lightly into the floor. We're not pressing through the head or the neck. And then you can make sure you don't hold your breath. You can continue to breathe in this position. You can always bring some fingers or a thumb just to your stomach just to check that everything's engaged. And then relax. By relaxing, I'm not meaning coming the whole way up here. That would be flirting with putting too much compression in the lower spine there. This can be done up against a wall as well. So if you can't get onto the floor, I haven't got a wall here, but if you imagine, or have I? Is this in the shot? If you imagine that I'm against the wall, this probably isn't the best angle, but just to show you, you can have a hand in the gap, and then you can press into the wall. It's a little bit harder to execute. Make sure it doesn't round your shoulders. I think you have more range of motion on the floor, but the same premise is still there. And really what you're doing is you're engaging those abdominal muscles there, so they're not quite at stretch, as the abdominal muscles in the lower back very much help each other out. They are buddies. So another couple of moves that I'm going to show you, and then we'll bring this video to an end. It's very, very simple, but one of my favourite moves that I like to do to promote relaxation at the end of a workout is we're just taking this wide squatted stance. So we're a couple of steps outside hip width apart. Our toes are just facing diagonally out, so our knees are guided in the same direction, but they're not protruding past the toes here. I don't have to hold this position very deep. And then what we're going to do is, as we bring our arms, so we're going to squat down, breathing in, bringing the arms up, and then the arms come down into the center as we don't lock out, but we come up at the legs here. So I'm just going to show you a few here. Let me show you side on. It's always good to see side on. So what we don't want to do, you don't want to catch yourself in this position. It's the same theme, the abdominals being at stretch. We don't want to crunch the lower back. We also don't want to be in this position here. The best way to think about it is just the hip hinge again, or if there's a button here, we just want to put our bottom out just on the button a little bit. So showing you from side on. It's not a squat, it's just a little bob. You can move even slower than me if you want to. The slower, the better within reason, because that by slowing something down, it really seems to make you more aware about your body. You might suddenly become aware of the ends of your fingers. You might feel a really kind of almost, it's hard to describe, fuzzy sensation in your fingers, because you're just becoming aware of the fact that your fingers are there, and all the nerve endings are just getting excited. Sometimes when we're moving around in everyday life, we're not aware of every single part of our body because we're thinking about so many other different things. The final thing I will say before I bring this video to a close, any move can promote relaxation, any move can be mindful. So we know that all our dynamic moves that I showed you in a warm-up video, so maybe where we're marching, where we're pushing, and we're pulling, where we're raising, whatever this may be, whether it's coming out at the heels, you can do all of these slower, focusing on the breath. So a really good example is the one that I just showed you. So I'll just show you a couple. So it might be that you don't want to step at all. It might be that we're just focusing on the hands. Imagine that you're moving, I would say, really light footballs, or you're moving really light balls of light through the air, balloons, whatever you want to imagine. This is the general premise. All the posture points that we've talked about before looking forward, shoulders rolled back, soft bend in the knees, tailbone tucked in. Another one that I really like to do is in a lunged position here. This one very, very simple. You can imagine that you've got an expanding ball of light in between your hands. This may resonate with you, it may not, so don't worry if you think, what is he talking about? And with this one here, it's as we come forward on our legs. I'll just give you a show. Really focusing on those hands, making sure that our legs, our knees don't lock out. And you can do this with anything. You can do this with bicep curls. You can do this with absolutely, whether it's toe touches into the floor. You can do that, it might just be a little bit slow. You might bring your toe across the floor so you're not spending lots of time on one leg. So really the possibilities are endless. So as long as you're in a safe environment, you've got appropriate balance assistance, when needed, then you can have a real creative license with this promoting relaxation and mindful movement. We'll finish the video there. Enjoy, guys.